Hi, everybody. Hen here with Yoga Sizes. Welcome. We have Elaine Bogard here today. I'm really excited for her to be on. And our last interview was with Nicole, and she is a shamanic healer, and Elaine is a shamanic healer as well. With There's like a little bit of difference in terms of their other practices. Elaine does like medium work, like energy, intuitive medium work, and some other areas. So I will let Elaine continue from here. And welcome, thank you. So let's introduce yourself. Please introduce yourself to us and where you're from and how you started your journey with healing.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate this opportunity to share my story. So I'm Elaine, and I live on Maui, Hawaii. And let's see, I started doing this work back in, I think it's been about 5 years that I've been doing this work. And it all started, so I'm a fertility intuitive. That's what I call myself, a fertility intuitive. And what I do is I help women that are struggling to get pregnant to actually get pregnant, and so they can hold their baby in their arms. And the fun part of what I do is I help these women to connect with the soul of their unborn baby before they conceive. So that type of mediumship, instead of talking like most mediums talk to dead people, right? The people that have passed away, I talk to the souls that are coming in and help bring in any information that those souls might have to help them to come in to stay, right? So these souls coming in have lots of wisdom to share. And I absolutely love being a mom. And I want to help more women to become moms too, because it is possible. And there are so many women that are struggling with unexplained infertility, irregular cycles, pregnancy loss, and a number of other diagnoses. And what I find is that when we work with the spirit baby, we can actually shift all of that energy, and it just helps to make the space for the baby to come, regardless of any of those diagnoses or however long that they've been trying to conceive and it hasn't happened. That's like the fun part of my work. And so how it got started is I actually had my own pregnancy loss back in 2010. And I was devastated with that loss because I was already almost 40 when I got pregnant. And so I was kind of thinking, well, my time to have a baby is almost up, right? Western medicine kind of like looks down on you the older you are and kind of limits your like maybe the odds around conception the older that you are. So I was just like, I'm running out of time, and I was really devastated about that loss. And I went into like this depression, and I was so sad and overcome with grief because I never really understood the pain related to a miscarriage. Like I had friends that had had miscarriages and pregnancy losses, but I never understood it until it happened to me. So then I was just on my path of self-healing because I was so sad. And on my journey of self-healing, I started learning different tools. And one of the things I did was I was going to kinesiology school. And so I don't know if you know anything about kinesiology. So it's about like muscle testing the body, figuring out what is out of balance and how to balance the physical body. And in kinesiology school, we learned about the emotional root causes of physical ailments. And as we were looking at that, looking at the emotional root causes, that was when everything related to my loss came up to the surface to be healed. And so I was able to release a ton of emotions that I didn't even realize I was storing because I hadn't talked about it, right? Because I had stuffed everything away. And so as I was in school and was able to release it, I felt amazing. And so I made it my mission then to help other women heal their grief. And so I did that. When I finished kinesiology school, that's what I was doing, helping women heal their grief from pregnancy loss. And I was still on my journey of personal development and self-healing, since I was like, wow, this is a whole new world, looking at our emotions and how our emotions affect all of us. So I went to go see this lady, and she was a hypnotherapist. So I was going to try hypnotherapy. And I go see this lady, and she says, okay, before we get started with your hypnotherapy session, I'm going to start with opening sacred space. Is that okay with you? And I was like, okay, like I didn't know what that meant. So I was just like, okay. And so she says, I'm going to hand you a rattle. And as I hand you a rattle, just follow me and we'll open up each of the 4 directions. And so I said, okay. So she hands a rattle to me, and I am not kidding. In that moment that she put that rattle in my hand, I had a spiritual awakening in that moment. I was overcome with memories and images and visions of myself as a shaman, as a medicine woman, as a medicine man, like all these different lifetimes of myself as a healer all came forward at once. And tears are running down my face. And I open my eyes and I look at this lady and I told her, this is me. And she said, yes. And so needless to say, that was what started my path to study traditional Peruvian shamanism. And so I began to study with her shaman, the gal that she studied with. And my teacher she studied from the indigenous people in Peru. So that started that. And so as I was on my path of studying shamanism, so much more opened up for me. And when I say that, what I mean is like spiritual insights. I started to see things, started to see spirits and communicate with spirits. And then I was able to communicate with the spirit of my baby that I lost. And he came forward and shared with me how he wasn't meant to stay in physical form. He was meant to get my attention and come and just be this loss that got my attention, because that loss really did change a lot of things for me. And so that helped just to provide me with so much more peace around that loss and understanding about why it happened, and like when it happened. And so what I do now is, back then I was still focused on helping women with their grief related to loss. And a lot of the babies that were miscarried would come forward and give me messages for the women to help them heal their womb and heal all of their, like a lot of the emotions related to their grief. And then the spirits of the spirit babies started coming for women that were gonna get pregnant. And so my clients started getting pregnant quickly and easily. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing side effect, right, of my work. And so since then, I just combine all of it together. So I combine it really is a holistic approach to fertility healing, and not just fertility healing, but creating a conscious conception. creating the space for our baby to come into our lives, and really being intentional about pregnancy and conception, and kind of changing the consciousness around pregnancy. So I help women that have had pregnancy loss. I help women that are struggling with any infertility or unexplained infertility issues. And then I help women that maybe don't have any issues but want to prepare for baby. So all the work that I do is all in that realm. And I find that the real magic of the work that I do, you know, in addition to it being holistic, right? Looking at the physical body, emotional body, spiritual body. But the real magic is working with those spirit babies, working with those souls that are ready to come forward, helping the moms to connect and start that soul connection before conception happens, because it really does shift all of the energy, and it really helps the mom to feel connected, and it helps to release any fears and anxieties on their path to motherhood.
Sorry about your loss, and thank you for sharing with with us. So I have a few questions. In terms of the whole preparing the body for this journey, what are some of the physical things that they should prepare for, and do you focus on diet and exercise and meditation, or whatever you have to do to prepare for the women?
Yeah, so the number one thing that I help women do is connect with their body, because so often we're so busy doing so many other things that we're not connected to our own body. And so a lot of the work is just coming and spending time inward, connecting with your own heart space, with your own womb space. And the more that women become connected to their body, they learn to trust their body. So a lot of women that have had a loss or are struggling with infertility, there's a big lack of trust in their own body to help them actually conceive. But when we spend time just being present and connecting with our body, like one of the exercises that I have my clients do so often is just putting their hands, like making a heart shape, putting their hands over their womb space and just holding that space, and then just breathing deeply and just offering gratitude to your womb space. And there's something magical about talking to your body, right? Each of our organs has its own energy system. And so as you connect to your womb space and you offer gratitude to that space, you can feel the response. Like you will feel little tingles under your hand, and that's the response from your womb space, like offering gratitude back to you. And so the more that you can do that, and the more you offer gratitude and love, and you thank your womb space, you can start talking to your body, and your body will tell you what it needs. So that's the first part, is the connection part. And then, of course, we do look at any vitamins and minerals, anything that their body may need, their endocrine system may need to strengthen their physical body, because what I also find is that you can't do all of this energy work without having a strong and stable physical body. There has to be balance of all of that together. And so regarding like exercise and diet, it just depends. A lot of times when I'm connecting with the spirit baby will let me know what they need to do, what the mom needs to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I'm just thinking about everything that you said. That is because my brother-in-law is also very intuitive when it comes to being touched, being tuned with the spirits and everything. So in terms of for the women that are going through once they're able to get pregnant, but then in terms of miscarriage is quite common, more common than people talk about. It's not something to talk about. They talk about, okay, I'm having a baby and this and that, rather than sharing their losses. And so women going through that, what are some of the challenges that you get in terms of their mindset once it's happened already?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge is fear. There's so much fear if you've had a loss before. And I can understand. I had a loss. I was able to get pregnant after my loss, but it was stressful, right? Because I was worried all along the way. And especially when it came around to, you know, the 12-week time when I lost my baby, when I was pregnant after that, I was just a mess around the 12 weeks, right? Because I was so afraid it was going to happen again. So fear is the biggest challenge, and I find the biggest barrier when it comes to conceiving after a loss. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we do the combination of the energy work and looking at the root of what is going on, what is in that fear, how can we shift that fear? And again, that's why I love working with the spirit baby, because once a woman can connect with the soul of her unborn baby, and even if the baby is in her belly, she begins to trust that baby and to trust that feeling, right? So she can feel the baby's spirit, the baby's energy, and that really just helps to create trust. I feel like that's the key in all of the work I do, is really helping to create trust, trusting ourselves, trusting our body, trusting our baby to come and make it through and not be another loss. And then with the shamanic work, what is really amazing is that we can navigate the unseen realms and looking at the souls and any of the soul records. I also use Akashic records. Just working at the soul level, we could see what else might be interfering with this baby coming and staying. So there may be some like soul retrieval work that we have to do, some past life trauma that we need to look at, some ancestral healing that might need to be done. But it really is amazing when we work with not only the woman's soul, but the soul of the baby together. And it really helps to make things very clear very quickly about what needs to be released or modified.
Okay, that's never really think of it in terms of that way. That's interesting. So for in terms of the causes, there's so many. How well, now it will make sense, because medically, like doctors, the OBGYN would say, okay, it could be this, it could be that, but then they can only say so much, right? But then with what you do is you can really tackle the underlying reason for that to make sense for the moms to heal.
Exactly, because they're only looking at the physical body. They're not looking at the emotional body or the spiritual body, right? They're not looking at the energy of what it is. And so I have clients that I work with also that are going through IVF or IUI, and we work together and still make that soul connection with the unborn baby to help increase the odds of IVF and IUI. The success rates of IVF are under 30%, depending on the clinic. And that is a very low percentage if you think about the cost of IVF. And not only the cost, but if you think about how harsh it is on your body, because you're injecting your body with different hormones and you're tracking everything, it becomes so much of a task, right? And a task feels like harsh and heavy and dense. So when we approach it with the spiritual and emotional aspect and work with that spirit baby, it just brings in this beautiful gentleness into the picture that helps, like I said, to increase those odds of success for the women going through IVF and IUI.
So, well, of course, the women you work with, they're able to share that experience with you and open up. And what if there are some people out there that are just not willing to share it yet, or seek help, or not really like believing this type of approach?
Yeah, that's the challenge. So if you're skeptical and you don't believe that it would work and you're not open to this type of work, it's not going to work, right? It's, in a way, it's like manifesting and creating what we want. If we have the intention and, you know, our energy follows where our thoughts go. And so if our thoughts are on doubt and skepticism, then that's basically what you're going to get. And so, yeah, if people are skeptical, I just say, you know, I'm sorry, we're just not a good fit to work together, because there are so many women that do want my help, that do believe in the work that I do, that I honestly don't have the time to convince people that this works.
That makes sense. And I'm just thinking, maybe, I don't know, testimonials, or people, if they have friends or family that have gone through this and then they've experienced great outcome, and if they're able to change their mind about it.
Yes, yes. And I use testimonials all the time, because I think that's the greatest, like, not, I guess the testimonials are just powerful, right? When you can see and read someone else's words of their success, you know, that's really powerful. I just have a client that just sent me a testimonial. She had been trying to conceive for 2 years, unexplained infertility, no luck. She was feeling lost and isolated, not sure if it would ever happen for her. She was in her late 30s. And after working with me and her receiving guidance, not just from me, but from her spirit baby, well, she's pregnant, right? She's pregnant. And that's how it works. You know, I have a really high success rate in helping my clients to get pregnant, because it works, right? And I know that this is my soul mission and my gift. I have many lifetimes doing fertility healing. I've seen so many different visions of myself helping women to bring life. And so it's exciting for me to be able to do it again in this lifetime.
You know how people always say, okay, if something meant to be, it'll happen. But what if, let's just say, you work with somebody and what if they're just not meant to have a healthy pregnancy and meant to have children? So how can it still happen?
It can still happen, because we can create our reality. I feel like there are very few occasions that a spirit baby will come and say, I'm here to be a guide and not to come in physical form. But that has been very rare that happens. I have had calls with women that say, well, it might not be in the cards for me. And whatever's meant to be, like you said, whatever's meant to be will be. But I feel like there's still an opportunity to shift that and to change that, because it's about belief, right? And if you really know that you're destined to be a mom, I truly believe that it can happen. And so I feel like it just might take that person a little bit longer to shift through those beliefs and those thoughts about not having control, or not having, like free will to choose that, right? Because I do think there are some things that are destined, but I also feel that we do have free will to choose what we want to create in this lifetime. And I have seen miracles with my clients. You know, I've had clients where they've been told they have less than or between an 8 to 10% chance of conceiving. And guess what? They have babies now, because it is possible. Even if Western medicine is telling you that you have an 8 to 10% chance. Well, that's still a chance. And if you know you're meant to be a mom, like, it can happen. I feel like anything is possible when we work with spirit.
So like, some people say it could be because of well, at least the Western medicine, they would say it could be like a chemistry imbalance with the, the hormones, or not hormones, but in terms of like the chromosomes and this and that. It could be this cause, that cause. It could be just no cause at all. So do you work with with couples as well, on the men and the women, or just only the women?
Yeah, I have worked with some of them, the husbands. Most of the time, the clients I've worked with, the issue has been on the woman's side. So we work from there. But if there are some areas that the husband needs help or the partner needs help, I always help them as well. And so it could be maybe they're having trouble with testosterone, or their sperm count is low. Like, I'll be honest, it's not that difficult to balance the body, right? That's where the kinesiology comes in handy, because we just muscle test. Our body has its own hierarchy. We just muscle test what is out of balance and what herbs or minerals that person needs to balance it out, and then it will balance. And our bodies can heal really quickly if we trust it to heal quickly.
Yeah. So I know people say, not say, but so with the percentage wise, or like a ratio, how, so you work on the energy and the soul, the spirit, and overall health, together with the body, to prepare the body and the rest. So in terms of how much nutrition play a role, because I know some people, they don't eat healthy at all. They just the weight, just like many things, they're just not healthy. They don't exercise, and then they're still able to have more trouble in this area. But then some, they're like really self-conscious. They exercise, and this still happens to them. So what is like the ratio of
Well, the only thing I can say is that everyone is so different, right? And so because I just not only tune in, but muscle test what that person needs, sometimes the suggestion is that the person follow like a ketogenic diet, because that helps bring down inflammation. So the biggest barriers in the physical body that I find are inflammation, candida, fungus, and parasites. Those are the top things that interfere, what I find really interferes with the physical body and conception. All of those things really wreak havoc on your entire body, but particularly your endocrine system. And so we need time to, do some cleansing and adding the nutrients back in to strengthen the body as they're releasing that stuff, right? Those toxins. So everyone is just different. I don't have I haven't taken any stats about any of that. So I just address what people need when they need it.
That makes sense based on the need, of course.
Yeah.
So for a typical session, how long would it be, and what are the steps of which area you go first, and then second, and third?
Yeah, so again, everybody's different, but in general, we start with I work in either 3 months or 6 months. So depending on how long you have been trying to conceive, you know, the longer you've been trying to conceive and it hasn't happened, that's kind of like the more layers we have to peel back. So those tend to be more in the 6 month program. And so we always start with connecting to the body. Like I said, connecting to the body is so big, working on the physical body. And then after that, we work on connecting with the spirit baby, because that's so important also. And I know I've talked about that already. So after we connect with the spirit baby, then we're looking at emotional root causes of infertility. And then from there, we look at the spiritual root causes of infertility. And then just looking at, you know, anywhere else that the soul might be telling me they need to look at, because I'll be honest, our soul has the answers, right? And so if we tune into our soul will tell us why and what is going on, and then work from there. Working at the soul level makes a huge difference in this process.
Oh, speaking of working at a soul level, so what are your own personal practice to get yourself there? Like, what are the steps that you do, like a routine or something?
Yeah, so my daily routine is I get up really early and I spend at least an hour in meditation and connecting to myself, connecting to my own soul, and then connecting to my spiritual team as well, and asking, you know, what is important for me to share today? How can I be best of service today? And then I follow whatever guidance I get, and that's what guides me through my day of sharing about my work on social media. And then I find that the other thing I do is I am really intentional about the things that I do, right? I try to make a little bit of a plan for the week, structure for my business, but just being intentional with my time, right? I have a lot of things really spelled out on my calendar, so that helps me to focus on what tasks I need to complete. But being intentional about being of service, being intentional about being present for my family and for my children, and also gratitude. Gratitude is really, really big. And I know so many people are talking about it, but I spend a lot of time in gratitude. So then before I go to bed, I like to just reflect on my day and offer gratitude for all of the wonderful things that happened in my day, because as we are in gratitude, that brings us into the present moment. And when we are in the present moment, that's when we are able to be. And when we can just be, that's when there's no past or future, right? So there's no anxiety, there's no fear, there's no depression, right? Because we are in gratitude. And I feel like spending that time in gratitude has made the biggest shift for me in my life.
Yeah, those are important. I definitely agree with you. Um, so with the shamanic, I don't know, can't come up with questions right now. So you said you do this in person and online, right? You connect with
Uh-huh.
people online.
Yes. Yeah, so everything is energy, so I can do everything by distance. The majority of my clients are online. I'm just now starting to build my clientele here on Maui, and so that's pretty fun. I love working with people in person, and my goal is to do a couple of retreats a year where women, well, actually couples come and we work together as a couple on creating a conscious conception and any fertility issues that might come up, because this is such a beautiful healing space on the island that it helps accelerate the results.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what I have for you today.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you again for coming on.
Yes, thank
And
you so
yeah.
much.
Oh yeah. So please tell us how people can reach you if they want to, schedule a section or work with you or ask you questions.
Yes, you can find me on Facebook. It's Elaine Lopez-Bogard, Fertility Intuitive. Also, I'm on Instagram under Elaine Lopez-Bogard, and you can find me there. My website is www.healingthewomb.com.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.